Before we start this video, a large thank you to Dimitri and a name I unfortunately cannot pronounce. Thank you very much for the support, gentlemen. I hope you enjoy the video. And a massive thank you to Halo Burner and Ryan Bellin for their immense support to the channel this month on Patreon. It is sincerely appreciated. I hope you enjoy the video. Hello everybody, so today we are going to conclude our icon makers. I'm going to go kind of fast, so if you need to, slow down the video or replay what you need. If we jump over to Player Equipment Manager here, you can see we have two functions we're calling on Awake, where we initialize our weapon slots and our armor slots. You can see here we're just kind of getting them right here. We don't need the weapon slots, at least I don't want them for my icon maker. If you need them, then grab them, but I do want initialize armor models. So I'm going to copy this function name, go over and paste it on the Awake of our profile icon maker, and I'm going to yoink this function entirely. Now you could just make it a protected void and call it, but if you need to change it in any capacity, just basically come over here and delete what you don't need. So this is pretty much identical, so I literally could make this as a protected field and just call it here. But if your character is different than mine in any way, and it probably will be because I'm just using an asset store model, then modify it as you need. But basically all I'm trying to say is just basically get your armor set up the same way you do here. Next I'm going to show you a little trick that's kind of niche, but I've used it like 6 times in my life and it saves me a lot of time. Dragging your player prefab. Now, I don't want to drag in manually all of these variables here on our equipment manager and our body manager all over again. So I'm going to disable our original icon maker, take your player prefab, delete everything except for the equipment and body manager on it. Because as you know, the profile icon body manager and equipment manager basically are extensions of that class. So add your profile icon manager to this, go to your inspector, turn it to debug mode right here as I'm about to click. And then what you can do is you can go to the player equipment manager, and you see how now I can kind of edit the value in the script. You see how it says script after a below local identifier. Change that from player equipment to icon equipment, and because this class derives from the player, basically look, we keep all the variables without having to drag them in manually, and we've changed the script type. So that is a useful trick that I feel like you might not use a lot, but I don't want to drag in like 20 variables again. So I've done this a few times since using Unity, and I found it to be very helpful. And you can do the same thing with the player body manager. So come in here and make a profile icon body manager, and it will do the exact same thing. So that is a cool trick, save time. Some maybe keep in your back pocket, and whenever you're done, you can just turn the inspector off debug mode by hitting normal again. So I didn't need to add those profile icon scripts to this. The only one I need added to it is the profile icon maker manager script. Everything else is good. I don't know why the player stats is here. I guess I forgot to delete it. I'll remove that. And now I'm going to make this a prefab because I don't think this is a prefab. No. Our default icon maker that we made before was not a prefab. So I'll remove that entirely and go to my prefabs folder, make a new folder here. And I'm going to call this, let's call it icon maker. And I will double click this and drag this in here. Okay, I forgot to switch back to normal mode in my inspector, so I'm going to do that. And now I am going to go over to our icon maker and save the prefab again. Now I'm going to go over to the profile icon maker equipment manager and move this body flag to the body manager. Doesn't make sense that it's over there. That's just from me taking it from Nef, and I just didn't go back and make it look nicer and neater in Nef. So I'm going to go and say public void, and we're going to say change sex, and we're going to pass a bool for is male. And then we're just going to set this is male to whatever we pass. And then from there we can kind of use that because we're going to start with that flag. And then when we equip the character afterwards, then depending on which sex they are, we'll change models or enable or disable certain things or however you have yours set up. So I realized looking back on the character creation menu now, there's a lot of things I just didn't set up, like beards and eyebrows, for example, I think because they work identical to hairstyles. And I think I wanted to save time, so I left that to the viewer. Plus, I didn't know what kind of characters people were using, because character creation is always a thing where you can take the general information from it, but if you have different models, it's not going to work the exact same way anyway. But if you do have a male, then disable your female object, enable your male object. If you're doing it the same way I'm doing it, maybe you have a whole different prefab you're instantiating. I don't know. So this is where it's going to be different for some people, depending on how your artist has set up your character. But then we're going to go on and do change hair on dummy, and this is where I would pass anything and everything. So, for example, in Nef, I have a hairstyle, I have eyebrows, I have eyelashes, and then you have beard if you have a male character. And then you can do your hair color here as well if you want to. But this is going to differ depending, again, what you have. So I'll try to keep it as general as I can while still making the information useful to people who don't have the exact same model set up as me. So the first thing I would do is do a for each loop, and if you have all of your hair objects in a game object like I do or an array, I would disable them all. This is private, so I'm going to change it to protected on the player body manager. But maybe you're instantiating your hair objects in real time, I don't know. But however you're doing it, remove any previous hair object that you have, either by destruction or by iterating through a list and hiding it, which is what I'm doing. And then we're going to say hair objects, that's in my array. I'm going to activate the one I have the int hairstyle for. Again, if you're instantiating it, maybe you have to check some kind of list and get the hair model by a specific ID, then instantiate it. Do it, it's the same thing really. And then we're going to say hair objects, we're going to get component skin mesh renderer, because this is where you'd want to set the hair color too. But what you probably want to do is wait until you have all of your hair pieces set, assuming that you're setting them all the same color, which is what I do, and then just mass set all the renderers with your set color at the end. If you're a person who also wants to make them different, if you have eyebrow color, hair color, and beard color, then do them all individually. You can yoink this set hair color code we have here from our player body manager. If I were to paste that here, we can discern some information from it before we delete it. So what we have here is a color, and we're setting the color with byte. We're getting the byte from what looks to be a float. So what we could do is just let's copy all this and delete this function. And then I would paste it. We'll go down here like so. And then we're going to get rid of the value flag here and get rid of the player network manager. And what we're going to do is just make this function require 3 floats, one for hair color red, one for hair color green, and one for hair color blue. And this is basically how we do it too when we're getting them from network values. So then we're going to erase the player.player network manager and erase the dot value and just keep hair color blue. And we're going to basically cast that float as a byte. And do the same thing up here with red and green, and you're pretty much good to go. And now we can look through all the renders that you want in hair objects. You can do the same thing in your eyebrow objects or beard objects, what have you. However you want to do it, there you go. Alright, so what do we have here on this dummy model we've made, or rather our character creation menu? What else is left? Okay, right, so do a check for male-only components and female-only components. You might have different eyebrows for your girl selection as opposed to your male selection. Don't know. Maybe you disable certain objects on yours, like in Nef, you can't use beards on women. So I disable those. Otherwise, you can just kind of enable what you want here. And then you just check for the values that you have again. So if you're passing a beard style, just do a for each loop, enable it, or if you're instantiating it, instantiate it. So I'm not going to do all these objects individually, obviously, because when you know how to do one, like hairstyles, for example, you can do them all. And again, players who are watching this, people who are watching this might not have the same character model as me or the same setup. So I'm going to try to keep the information valuable and just kind of tell you how I would do it depending on what you're doing. So you can do the same thing with facial features. We'll say change facial features. I don't think in this project I set up support for different heads. I just showed how to do it because, again, it works identically to a hairstyle. You're just passing a value, disabling all the head styles in a list, and enabling the one you want. And if you are instantiating it, it works the same way. So you can pass head style, and if you got lip, noses, or ears, or whatever, do the same thing here. You can kind of put them all in a master function like I did with hair. So all of the hair features up there, all the facial features down here. And again, if you have a male-only selection, so like obviously I'm assuming if you're doing it the same way I'm doing it, your male heads are going to be different than your female heads. Then basically go through a list, disable them all, and then enable which one you need. And then if you have skin color, if that's applicable to you, you can apply that down here below too. I don't think I covered that in the character creation because again, it was identical to hair color. So I said just do the same thing, but apply it to your skin color. So you would change color right here to skin color. Color.hair would change to color.skin, not skin hair. That's my bad. But yeah, it's the exact same thing. So just do the same thing you did above, but instead of looking for hairstyles, you're looking for face styles, etc. Literally identical. Okay, so a couple things though that are not identical so far that we have to look through. Let's see. So we only have one head for the male and female. Yeah, that's fine. We have no object for the beards. So if I go into the profile icon maker manager, let's get a reference to the body and the equipment manager. I know I'm jumping around a lot here. I'm just kind of, like I said, ripping this from Nef. So a lot of the things in the past have been very well planned out ahead of time and tested. I'm just kind of going off the cuff here and converting what I have in my project to this tutorial, but I'm very extremely confident it will work as it is intended because the code base is very similar anyway. Alright, so let's make a reference to our body manager and our equipment manager, and let's go to awake. Let's get those on awake. The same we would do for like our player manager or our AI manager. Just think of these as components just like that. Let's make them public, and we can hide that in Inspector if we want to, because there's no reason for us to see that. And I find that if I have a variable exposed in the Inspector, I'm assuming that I'm supposed to drag it in. It's weird for me to see like a variable in the Inspector and see none, unless I'm actively testing something and I want to see that it's there, but that's just me. So now I'm going to go to the Character Profile Icon Maker Manager, and here under Equip Dummy, you can see we got nothing going on here. So let's change that. Let's make a serializable field first up here, and let's make a Profile Maker Manager variable. I'm going to make that serializable because I'm going to drag it in, by the way. And then I'm going to save that. I'll drag it in right now just so it's done, just so I don't forget, because if I wait, I'll probably forget. Now under Equip Dummy, I'm going to call Profile Maker Manager, and we can say dot Profile Icon Maker Body Manager, and then we can say change sex. You should call that first if your character depends on their sex for certain models. And I'll call is male, and we're referencing the character save data. And I'll say character save data if the head equipment does not equal null. Oh wait, this isn't going to work, is it? Because in our project this is an int value, and in Nef this is a serializable object. Alright, one sec. Okay, so what we're going to do, we got to check first if the head equipment does not equal null by comparing it against the world item database and seeing if it actually gets a valid head equipment. So just bear with me for a sec. I'm going to change this. This is something I do have to kind of write a little bit differently. All right, so I'm going to basically make a head equipment variable. So we're going to say head equipment. We'll say head equipment. You can say equipment also if you want to, up to you. And we're going to say if, let's just comment this out for a second. We're going to say if, and then we're going to check the world item database. So if our world item database contains a head equipment from the character save data head equipment ID we're passing, so we're going to say if that does not equal null, then we can say head equipment is equal to, and then we can pass this, and then we can use that head equipment. So then we're going to say Profile Icon Maker Manager. And then we can say Profile Icon Maker Equipment Manager Load Head Equipment. Alright, and then we do the same thing for body equipment. Now, I'm only doing head and body because I plan to make the snapshot have such an angle and be up so close to the dummy that you can't see the hands or feet. I believe Soul says that too. But if you want to have like a full body picture, or you want to include more, then obviously you're going to have to also do the same thing for your hand and your leg equipment potentially. So I'm going to save that. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm already making a mistake. You see, I forgot to change that to body. I'm going to say Profile Icon Maker Manager dot Profile Icon Body Maker Manager. We're going to say change hair on dummy. And then we're going to pass our character save data. Hairstyle, I don't have a brow style. I realized I was just putting that in for example. I don't think we actually did that in this tutorial, which means I don't have a beard style either, so I'm going to delete those. You could just pass 0, 0 here if you don't have them either, but obviously if you're making your own game, I'm assuming that you're going to have all these values with intent, so nothing's going to be passed that's empty, unless you're just doing this to learn, in which case, yeah. So we'll go back over here, and I'm going to erase brow style and beard style because we don't have those. Alright. Let's go back over again, and that looks good. Why does that give me grief? Okay, there we go, changed. Changes the body. Very easy to trip up when you're just copying and pasting code and the name's very similar. And delete the extra bracket here. Let's save that. Okay, so under press start button, you can see here that I'm starting the network as a host. And that is a very fantastic place to also make all of the snapshots. So let's go to the title screen manager. Let's Control F, start game as host, and here we go. So right after this, let's make all of our snapshots. I'm going to make this a singleton by saying public static character profile icon maker, because this only exists on the main menu, and you should never have more than one because you're going to reload the main menu scene anyway when you come back. So we're going to say awake, and then we're going to say if instance is null, instance is this, otherwise destroy the game object. Some people don't like singletons. I find them very, very, very useful, and I can't understand why some people don't like them. But I guess it's preference. So let's just make a very basic singleton here, and now we're going to call character profile icon maker.instance, and we're going to say create all profile icons. All right, fantastic. Now let's go back over to our reset action flag, and we're going to say, you can see if character is null, then get the character. But if we can't get the character and character is still null, we're going to return. And why are we doing this? What does this have anything to do with our dummy? Well, our dummy needs to be animated to take the snapshot, so that means he has the humanoid animator. You can see here he's using unarmed, which means he has that reset action flag on his empty state, and that's going to throw an error if we don't check for null. Now, under unload head equipment models, you could do a null check here, but that doesn't necessarily work because we still need to enable the head and hair on our dummy. Otherwise, this is going to throw you an error. So what you want to do is make this a virtual void, and this is again unload head equipment models. So we're going to say protected virtual void, and we're going to have to do the same thing for the body as well, but I'll just do this one example first to show you. Go over here on profile icon maker equipment manager, override what we just made a virtual void, and then paste all of the code. And you're going to want to change the player body manager to our profile body manager, which means we need to call our profile icon maker manager on awake here and get a variable for that so we can reference the body manager from that. So let's go ahead on awake and say profile icon maker is equal to get component profile icon maker manager. And again, I'm using the same kind of pattern I've used with all of our characters. I'm kind of treating this like a pretend character. We have the master class that we get everything from, all the other components, or I guess the master component would be a better way to say it. And then from there, we're going to get our body maker manager, and then we're going to enable the head, enable the hair. These work because we're deriving that class from the player body manager, and they already have those functions in there. Okay, now let's remove the network object. You don't need that there. Let's go back to the player equipment manager for a second, and let's yoink the load head equipment, unload head equipment, body equipment, unload body equipment, and you don't need the lag in hands unless you're setting that up in your profile icon. Up to you. Preference, of course. I'm going to come back here and paste those in my profile icon. And now I'm going to delete the duplicate I made because I've already overridden the unload head equipment models. And I am just going to, we need to make these a protected. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we're going to make them virtual on the base class so we can not have an error throwing us grief. Alright, so I am now going to delete what I need to and paste this down here just to organize a bit nicer. I like having load, load, unload, unload. Go back to the base class, and let's see what we got here. We got a public void, so let's make that a public virtual void. And then we have a private void, which we will make a protected virtual void. And this other one becomes public virtual void. And now we need to go back and make sure we color our overrides correctly, because I think one of those is supposed to be public and one of them is supposed to be protected. So I'm just going to say public where I need to, and then protected where I need to. And then we can actually edit the functions themselves. I'm just realizing that this bottom one is supposed to be protected. There we go. All right, cool. Let's see what's going on here now, because this is going to obviously be a problem. So there's a lot happening here, and we can super simplify this. So if the equipment is null, all we're going to do is load our head models back to normal here. So we can say profile icon maker, then we're going to reference the body manager, and then we're going to say enable head and hair, obviously, as well. Otherwise, we're simply going to load the models we need, and that's literally it. Everything else here is for the player only. We don't need to do it. It just will do, what is this, armor calculations and a bunch of other random stuff. So, oh, we do need this, though. So we're going to say, because based on the helmet equipment, I know we disable hair sometimes if it's like a full helmet. If it's a hat, we don't disable the hair. That looks good. Now, for this load model thing, we're going to have to make a small modification. So if we go to this, you can see it requires a player manager. So for now we can say null, but that's still not going to cut it because we need to, we can reference the player body manager is male, but we still need to actually load that. So let's delete the last little bit here, and this is what the function is going to look like when it's done. Except we're going to be passing the equipment manager. So go over here, go over to load model, you can see it requires a player manager. But if we go here, that player manager is only used to reference our player equipment manager. So that's fine. What we need to do here on equipment model now is change player manager to player equipment manager, because you know our profile icon equipment manager derives from that, so that's fine. And then I'll change the name of player to equipment manager, just to match it. So let's go ahead and copy that and paste it here. And I'm moving around a lot, so if my voice is getting at different volume levels in the mic, I apologize. I'll try to fix it in post. Now just delete everything and change the name to equipment manager, and that should still work as intended. You should get no errors. And then wherever you have an error where it says player, just pass this, because we're only calling this on an equipment manager. And now we're making it require an equipment manager instead of the player, and I think we'll be fine. All right, that looks good. Do the same thing down here. And now under profile equipment manager, let's copy, or let's go down and do body equipment. So same thing for body equipment. If it's null, instead of enabling the head and hair, you enable the upper body, which I believe we just called body, like this. And then otherwise, you're just going to equip the models. So delete everything else in here, and then just copy and paste this for each loop, and then put it down here, and you're fine. All right, so that should work now. I'm just going to go over and check to see if there's anything else we need. Yeah, so down here, instead of player.player body manager, not butter manager, what am I saying? Enable body from our profile icon maker body manager. All right, save that. I'm not meant to talk for long periods of time. So instead of null now, pass this. This is on our profile equipment manager. And I think that is it. Like, it should work now, but I'll test it in a second. We'll see. I'm definitely forgetting something. We'll see. Save. And I forgot something. I'm going to go and create a folder. If this doesn't work for you, by the way, streaming assets, create a folder called streaming assets. And then create a folder here called icons. It might make the folder automatically. It might throw you an error. If it throws you an error, make those two folders. I forgot to change head equipment here to body equipment. Now jumping over here to create character profile icon. This if string is empty or null doesn't need to be here, because we're always going to set the name from the icon name from the character slot anyway, so you can erase that. And more importantly, if I go over here to where I'm actually equipping my dummy, I need to still equip it if it's null. Again, this is my bad. Copying this from Nef. My head equipment and body equipment aren't just stored as number IDs, so it's a bit different. So we're going to do is say head equipment equals null, and if it does contain one in the world item database, then get it from there. But regardless if it gets one or not, you still want to equip it. And then do the same thing with your body equipment here. So we can make a local variable up here and just say body equipment is equal to null. If the world item database does contain that body equipment, cool, get it. But regardless if you get it or not, still equip the null or possibly existent item. And now we save. We go over here to load head equipment. If equipment is null after you enable your head and hair, simply return. Likewise on body equipment, after you enable your body, if the equipment is null, simply return. Now if we save and go into the game here, I'm going to press play. I've made 2 characters just to make sure this is testing and working properly. Go to load game and boom, yes, there they are. One gentleman has a helmet and a chest plate. One guy has no helmet and his chest plate equipped. So give this a test, guys. If you have any problems, let me know. Just make a note in the comments and I will address it. But this should be fully working as intended. You might need to make modifications depending on what kind of character setup you have. I hope you learned something in this video. At the very least, I hope it has been useful to you. I hope you have a very lovely weekend. As always, thank you so much to my patrons and the people who take the time to share the series via word of mouth, who leave comments, who like the videos. This series is alive and well because of you. All this content is because of you, and I could not have done it without you, so thank you very much. Okay guys, that'll be it for me. I'll see you all in the next one.